Oh, it's one of those cicada killers. Bringing him into his home.
Is that a cicada? It killed a cicada?
Yeah, it's got a cicada that it's eating.
It just pooed.
Did it?
Good morning. So today I decided to clear up some of my pots. I have them all around the house and some of them have been neglected this year. I haven't really been taking care of them as I ought to, or even planting any annuals or anything in them. So I decided to clear out one pot in the back here next to our stairs, the back deck, just to transplant actually a weeping pussy willow tree I have in the front that's in another pot. Here's how my thought process goes, okay? I have a blueberry bush that needs to be planted, and I don't want to plant it in the ground anywhere because I don't know if our groundhog friends or rabbits would like to eat those. So I want to put it in a pot and put it up on our terrace in the front there, so that I can have it, you know, and be able to harvest it before the animals get to it. So in order to do that, I have to empty a pot because I don't want to buy a new one, and plant it in that. So I want to move the pussy willow tree to a pot back here that I know doesn't really have anything in it, and then I will use that pot for the blueberry bush. But in my process of digging up this pot, I forgot I had lilies planted in them. So I found lilies that I can now transplant to the bed that's around the beech tree trunk there, the stump. Let me just show you guys. So this was the pot it was in. This pot was overgrown with weeds, which are all in here. Now here are the lilies. They're just Asiatic pink and red lilies, so I'm not sure which one is what color, but I have dumped them into here. Look at this big root ball. They're little baby bulbs, as you can see here, but then there's one big one there and I think another one in here. But here are the other ones. So all of those are attached to actual plants. I'm going to leave those on because if I cut these stems off, then the bulbs don't actually get to absorb the energy from the leaves, which means next year in turn they may not flower as well. So usually when you have a bulb, you want to leave it until all of the leaves start looking brown and they've died back before cutting the stems off. Otherwise you won't get as many flowers the next year. But look at all these that I found in the pot. A lot of them are small, some of them are big. These didn't have any flowers in them, and actually when I walked by this pot earlier in the summer, there weren't that many lilies, and I just thought, well, it's kind of dead, or they've lived as long as they can. But there are quite a few in here that are great, so I'm going to transplant these over to the front of the house, around the tree stump, and then I'm going to put the pussy willow weeping tree here. Now I also have this other pot. Look at all the weeds in it. Like the first couple of years we lived here, I planted annuals, but then I kind of didn't anymore. So it's all overgrown. This is pretty much what the other one looked like. We've got some fleabane in here, actually this is a black walnut tree, I think. All kinds of weeds. So I might dig that up and find something else from my garden to plant in this one, just to create a focal point, I guess. Or maybe a pretty backdrop down here. No one really sees it, but it might be pretty anyway. So after clearing this pot out here, I thought about what I could plant in it. I did leave the black walnut tree over here just because if it grows up a little bigger, I can probably transplant it into the ground somewhere in the back. But then I remembered I have plants inside that I can plant out here. I saw this tag that was in the pot, and it's for a begonia. And I thought, hey, I've got this white one in there that's just sitting in a pot on a table inside. I can just transplant it outside. And then in the winter, if I want to, I can bring it in again. And then I also have coleus, which I planted from seed many, many years ago, and they just keep reproducing inside the house. So I have various plants. Like I pulled this one out of another pot, potted plant I have inside. And so this one I will just transplant out here too. So I'm gonna do that now. Okay, all done with this pot. In the process, some of this broke off, a couple pieces, one over here on that side, and these ones actually grow by piece. So I just stuck it into the dirt. Hopefully it'll grow. So I also put a stick here to hold this one up. I probably should have watered it before I transplanted it, but I didn't. So now I'm gonna soak it good. And then these stems will start to have a little more strength and rigidity to them, and they'll stand up. But look at how beautiful the flowers are. So pretty. And the coleus should start growing nice and thick too as time goes on. One pot done. Yay. This butterfly bush sometime back in June, which is a while ago. You can see that it's growing roots out from the bottom. That's only because I've left it here for so long. It's now August 3rd. So I'm going to transplant it into this hole over here, which is where I had a previous butterfly bush. With the drought last year though, it died and it didn't come back. So I'm hoping this one will do a little better. First I have to dig up that root. It seems in there pretty good. So I added some black cow compost, which is what I usually use. Just gonna mix it in. And then I will add, see how dry that is? Adding compost gives the plants an extra boost. It's fertilizer, so helps the plant to grow a little better. Establish roots that are strong. See how rich that looks compared to the stuff that's in there. What I'm going to do is just squeeze the edges of this pot to loosen up the roots. As you can see, it's already growing out of the bottom, so I might have to tug on it a bit. Oh, no, came out nice and easy. I'm going to break up the roots a bit to stimulate growth. And fill it in. See how that does. It's a little close to the grass, the ground, so I'm hoping when the lawn gets mowed, it doesn't get chopped. So I may put some kind of a peony ring or a plant holder ring around it just to hold it up. But I think it's good to go. Here is the blueberry bush that I bought back in June, which needs to be transplanted. I'm gonna put it into this pot. Now this is that weeping willow, is it? No, pussy willow weeping bush thing that I'm gonna transplant to the back where I just cleared out that red pot. But that's a swap I'm gonna make. You can see the beautiful blueberries that are on there, ripe for the picking. They are quite sweet too. So here is that weeping pussy willow tree in the pot that I need to remove. I'm going to take that out and plant it in a pot in the back, which I already cleared out and made room for. And that's the blueberry bush that I bought back in June, which I've already gotten blueberries from, and they're sweet and delicious. So I'm going to put that blueberry into this pot. It's taken me a while here. I got a little, tired from the last bout that I was doing, but I'm back at it here this morning. So finally finishing the transplanting or moving around process. So I'm going to start. The roots in this particular pot actually are very dense. There are a few weeds in there, and I tried pulling them out, but it's quite packed in there. So I'm just gonna get started on that. This particular bush, you can see some dead branches around too. It does need to be pruned, so maybe when I transplant it, I'll just take care of that at the same time. So I've turned the pot on its side and mushed down on the sides to sort of loosen the roots, use my little hand trowel back here to dig around the edges. The whole top layer here is thick matted roots, so if I try cutting through it, it doesn't actually want to cut easily. My trowel there, my shovel thing, can actually do it, but I decided to see if I can just pull it all out, and it looks as though it wants to come out as one full root ball there, the whole thing. Now we did have some rain, so it's been soaked, so maybe it's all just clumped together, but I'm gonna pull it out. Looks like I might just have to put brand new dirt in that pot to plant the blueberry bush. That's okay. I do have quite a big bag of Miracle Grow, so I'm gonna pull this out and see. So it came out as one entire big ball, as you can see. If I bring you in a little closer, you might be able to see some of these roots that are in here. So this actually kind of heavy. In the pot it's a little easier to carry. In fact, I just dragged the pot here. But if you look in here, you can see all those roots right in there. So that means this pot definitely was growing. The plant, was growing well in the pot, but it's starting to get a little root bound. It's kind of matted on the bottom. So when I transplant it to the other pot, I might just break this apart a little. I'll probably do it now, and carry it over to the other side. Okay, here's the tricky part. That was kind of heavy to pull out, as you know. So I'm here on this side terrace porch. I'll have to carry it all the way back here, don't mind the mess, and down the stairs down there, over to that side at the bottom of the stairs. So it's kind of heavy. It's kind of a distance. I will have to recruit my husband maybe to help me bring it on over. But for the moment, I will get it prepared anyway. I'll get it prepared and then we will, put new dirt in this pot and I will transplant blueberry bush into it. That's my plan. And so I'm going to use an old seat cushion for outdoors here to rest my knees on because the pavers are a little bit, hard. So here you can see how matted the roots are. This entire thing is pretty much all roots. It's, can't really shake any dirt out of that. What I did was I went through and I sort of cut through the dirt here, which means all of these little roots, they're now going to be able to sort of look for nutrients, look for water. Before, all of this was wrapped around so that the only part that was getting any type of nutrients was the bottom part down here where you might find the ends of the roots. So now that I've cut through, I'm actually going to use some cutters and trim these back. And it's okay sometimes to prune roots, guys. It is. It can actually help your plant to do a lot better. So I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to just put it in this bucket, not sure. It's aluminum, and then I'm going to carry it to the back and transplant it into the bigger pot, which I've already added some compost to the soil, so that should help feed this plant anyway, so that it can grow a little bit better, a little healthier, and maybe get some new shoots up to the top over here, not just the branches that are there now. There are a lot of dead ones that also need to be trimmed back. So that's what I'm going to do. And now in this pot, I'm going to add some Miracle-Gro potting mix. It's moisture control, which means it won't stay over wet or anything. I do like using this giant bag here. I actually bought at BJ's for about $13 on sale. So that's why I buy the really big bag, because it's cheaper for me over there anyway. So I'm going to do that, and then I will transplant this bush right in there. Okay, get started. Okay, so here we are. The pot is filled up with the potting mix, and I've got a little indent in the middle, a hole for the blueberry bush to go into. Now I'm just going to transplant it. This pot took about half of that bag. Oh, there goes my blueberry bush. Yeah, grab it before it falls over. Okay, good save. Correct. Gets a little windy here sometimes. Has a lot of dry stuff on the top. Now I'm just going to add some more dirt around. It's getting very loud here. Someone's blowing, so I'm going to shut this off for a minute. Okay, so the blueberry bush is in. I filled in around it with extra dirt, tamped down on it a bit. What I'm going to do is just add some more of the mulch type thing that was on the top of it originally. I'm just going to put it back on the top. Now, this here is high bush blueberry. We've already got a lot of fruit out of it, which is nice. It says it's hardy to zone 4, which is why I bought it. Grows about 3 to 4 feet tall, 3 to 4 feet wide. I think it'll be great for the deck. The only thing is I did have it down on the other side of the wall behind a peony bush. So it was getting some sort of shade. This porch actually is in full sun, so I'm not sure if it's going to do as well. But what I might do is, you know, keep it behind maybe one of these posts here. Sometimes they get a little more shade. But that's all set. It's all done. I have a big saucer I'm going to bring up to put underneath it. And then I'll just water it in. Though it's the soil it was already in around its roots were already wet because we had some serious rain yesterday. So my blueberry bush is all set. Planted. Yay. Now my husband took the weeping pussy willow to the back for me, so I was able to get his help, so that's good. Now I'm going to just put that into the pot there, transplant it. Okay, so this pot surely looks wider than the pot it was originally in, which had the same width as this galvanized pail thing I've got. So I'm going to transplant it into this pot. I've already added some black cow manure compost to it to rejuvenate the soil, but I also brought some more potting mix that I'm going to mix into it, or maybe just to top it off with afterwards. That's what I'll do. This one still has the weeds on the top, so I'm going to pull that out, and I've already cut the roots a bit, so I'm just going to plop it into here. I'm going to create a hole in this pot and plant that in there, and hopefully it grows well. I need to bring some more soil to fill around it, so I gotta bring a bag of dirt over here. So actually what I decided to do is to cut off some of that compact root base that was on the bottom to create the proper depth for this, because it's so thick. I think it could benefit from having the roots kind of cut a little bit more, stimulate some more growth there. It's so compact. By its base here and not yanking on it, okay? Trying to be gentle with it. You can see cut off quite a bit. Plop it down in this hole. See if it sits a little lower, which I think it does. It does sit a bit lower now, so that's good. I'm going to pull the dirt around it and finish it up. That I'm going to just plant around the edges, and this is some kind of a sedum, I think. I'm just going to plant it and grow and see if it grows. I also have columbine here growing already. All done. I could probably stand to put a little more dirt in that pot, but there you have it. That is the weeping pussy willow finally transplanted into that container. So that pot has the coleus in it and the begonia thing that I also planted in there. So it's coming together. Hopefully it'll start filling in and growing a little better soon. So I trimmed the weeping pussy willow branches off, the ones that were dead. I got rid of them. So it's all sort of clear and clean now. Looks like it should. I think I'm actually supposed to cut this one off as well, just to keep the weeping sort of look to the tree. But it's all done, it's all good. This is what I originally started. This was the project I wanted to do, clear out these 2 pots and plant something in them that needed to be planted. And from there, everything else sort of happened.